City Limits. Gauntlet City Limits is the living campaign hosted by the Gauntlet community, and I'm the kind of primary on Gauntlet City Limits. However, folks like our own Dylan, who is among us here, runs some Gauntlet City Limits stuff, and I've heard that Gauntlet City Limits might have a wrestling league that takes place soon or has already taken place. I'm not sure on the timing of that. So Gauntlet City is all over the map. The living campaign, as I run it, is all set within one city we call Gauntlet City, hence the name. And the players who all participate in Gauntlet City help to create the city. So they each create a neighborhood. And that neighborhood is where all of their characters will be from, which is cool. And you create a character. We play a different game every month. And sometimes I'll repeat, once a year I'll have an inspector's game. A lot of times I like to bring in new stuff, and that's what we're doing tonight. Tonight we are playing one of two episodes of a game called Dude Run. It is by Creepy Doll Studios, and anybody who's watched this knows that I'm a pretty big fan of Creepy Doll Studios. Robert Nolan created this. It is a ghost hunting TV show. That is what we're doing. So the players are all going to create investigators who are trying to find out if something's legitimately haunted. And so this is a slightly tongue-in-cheek style game where each character may really believe the stuff that they're spewing out about hauntings, or they may not. And what's great is that when we go to each hotspot, there's a possibility that whether they believed it before, once they roll dice, they could get totally scared and run away, which is like my favorite part of this, is that you believe your own stuff that you're saying. You freak out and you run away. You have to get out, and then actually creates a situation where your belief goes up, which means you roll more dice, which means that you could freak yourself out again. And so it's kind of a serpent eating its own tail. It's great. We're going to start off by creating characters. And that'll take just a little bit. It's pretty quick. You assign some points, and I'll describe what you're assigning the points to. And you guys should come up with, I don't know, a name for your ghost hunting organization as well. There are no benefits or flaws or anything for creating any kind of person who wants to participate in the ghost hunting organization. And the last thing before we jump into mechanics and making your characters is that this is part of the Gauntlet, which means that we do use the inclusivity policy that can be found on the website. And we're also going to be using the X card. I don't know what might freak you out. I don't plan on making this anywhere above like PG-13. And the PG-13 is because occasionally I get excited and I say words that shouldn't be broadcast on regular network TV. Sorry. But if there's anything that bothers you, skeeves you out, affects you in any way to cause you to kind of detach from the game or have no fun, just kind of make an X motion. I can see you guys at the bottom here. I'll feel free to stop the game. I might ask to try to understand what it was that bothered you, and then we'll write around it. No problems. If making an X here doesn't work, you can also use the chat within the video window to say, hey, X or X card. And then I also have linked you guys a rolling room. There's a button there that is still there. Yes, it's him. It's like black with red text. So of course I looked over it. It says safety tools, X card. Click that. I'll get a note here. I'll do it right now. Boom. And so it'll have a pop-up and you say, there you go. And then it'll pop up and say, someone played the X card, poop. There you go. So that way, we're not going to talk about poop for the rest of the game session. Although I didn't read the X card poop. So if you're like a fecal-philiac, you can start it off. But someone else may X card you. Just warning you. That is the rundown for Dude Run and our overall safety tools. My expectation is that you guys are going to jump in, be creative, collaborate a little bit to try to come up with why you think your particular investigator is using a technique of one kind or another. There's a little bit of competition here for who ends up being the lead investigator by getting the most investigative points. But I don't consider this like a straight up PvP because you guys all work on the same team. It's just a little bit of egos. Imagine that you guys, like, I want to be the guy who gets the most confessionals kind of thing, but you're still not going to totally trash, and you definitely wouldn't harm any of the other investigators, because that would be not good, and you might get pulled from the cable channel, because we're on Gauntlet City's local cable access channel, where we have your show. So there we go. I'm now going to walk through the techniques, because once you come up with an investigator's name, then you have 4 techniques. One starts at a 4, one at a 3, one at a 2, and one at a 1. Easy enough. Those techniques are how you build a die pool of 6-sided dice whenever you're trying to investigate a particular hotspot. So the techniques are as follow. And sensitive is one of the techniques. A sensitive is a person who just feels the ghostly things, right? They use physical and emotional experiences of their own sensations during the investigation to confirm the paranormal, right? That's the person that hears the voices or feels the... Hey, we lost Dylan. I should probably take a moment and see if Dylan's able to rejoin us. It's Taco Tuesday, so I went to the local as a school, Tijuana Flats. There's a local burrito taco place. So my son and I went to T Flats, as it's called. They have one entire wall coming in that has nothing but photos of famous celebrities, which is mostly football people. And they also pay local artists to paint, do these like wall-sized murals of really insane pictures. Like there was like this Frankenstein type creature that's on a hot rod at one T-Flats location. There's another one that looks like it's like the cover of a John Carter Warlord of Mars knockoff type of novel with a dude with a crazy shield, and he's fighting this scorpion monster. It's totally boss. Hey Dylan, you are back, and I'll stop wasting time and get back to it. The sensitive. Did you catch the description of the sensitive technique?
No, I was like, before I even dropped off, I was frozen for like about 2 minutes.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say something? I'm joking. Okay. So there are 4 techniques. You can assign 1, 2, 3, or 4 points to them. And that's the default dice that you'll start with when you use that technique. Now, you might ask, if I get XP, can I advance them? No, because there's no XP in this game. All right. So thanks for asking that question. Sensitive is one of the techniques. That's the person who like walks in the room. Oh, I hear voices. I hear crying. I feel cold. That's a sensitive, a person who is there. They are emotionally or physically experiencing the event in a hot spot. So if you're trying to engage the sensitive technique, your investigator has to be there, right? And then you got to kind of walk through what it is about the haunting hotspot there that's bothering you. Tech investigators use technology, right? Like an EMP type of reader, or they might have some other kind of technology, like they're going to measure with, oh, look, it's all of a sudden the level has moved. They're using tools at the time, in any technological issue or out of place reading at the time of an event means that the phenomenon was paranormal. Right. So if you're using doodads and gadgets, you're using your tech technique. Analysis is the third of the techniques. Analysis, those investigators are sifting through the data after an investigation to find their evidence. Now, they can use a variety of tools, research after the fact, looking over video, listening to audio recordings. But the analysis doesn't take place in the hotspot area. It is described as, I'm looking over everything that we've done and doing that research. Now, the part for me, as I was thinking through the game, is that, okay, part of this game is people getting scared and running away. So how does analysis work to make you run away if other people are running away? We'll kind of wing it. It's not entirely clear in the book, but I'm just imagining that you could be present on site and checking tapes and recordings. Maybe you're in another room, or you're in the same room, but you're looking at stuff at recordings from earlier that day. We can do a little bit of flashback to get to that point, and I'm sure that we can work our ways around it. The last technique is research. And that's if analysis happens after the fact, research is happening before the fact. It's the person that goes to the library, that Googles something, looks on Spookopedia or whatever. You do a little bit of, you've interviewed somebody beforehand and you kind of scope the place out. And so that's definitely going to be a flashback technique as I see it. But research is a person that got all of their ducks in a row before you go in. And then you can even see something that someone else is pointing out and tie it back to your research, right? And that's how you can engage the research technique. Cool. So those are the 4 techniques. You guys are a team, which means you've worked together. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves to min-max the hell out of your team. So does anybody have any kind of nascent or starting ideas for your character? There aren't a whole lot of steps to character creation.
I know I want a more of a fly by the seat of his pants kind of not so much into the research and the tech stuff, but just going with his gut.
You're kind of a Venkman. All right. Go with that.
Okay, I'm going to try to have like a pudgy professorial sort. The guy who fiddles with gadgets and he does all the research in advance and pontificates.
Oh, that sounds good. Cool. So Andrew, looks like we got tech covered and maybe research and then sensitive, right? So what are you interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. The one that's left over is kind of more the analysis, and I was kind of thinking of like a now I'm blanking on her name, but kind of more of an analysis, kind of like back behind the cameras, looking at things, maybe at like the command center kind of character, but pretty straight-laced, kind of female character. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Annie Potts. Annie Potts. That's her name from Ghostbusters.
I love Annie Potts so much. She's great.
Yeah.
She's also really good on Young Sheldon. Maybe my favorite character. Okay. Does anybody do you need me to relink Dylan to I saw you already filled out your character, but since you dropped and rejoined, you aren't able to see anything in the video hangout that I no, previously.
I've got the character sheet and the what is it, the
rolling room?
Generally relative walleye.
All right.
So then, should we start filling out the stats on our characters now? Do you want to?
Yeah, go for it. Let's fill out those stats. I see that Richie Miller, great name, has already got some. And Doc Pippleton, holy crap, nice last name. That is quite amusing to me. Pippleton.
So let me ask here, Rich. What's the relationship as far as the belief and your belief score and the number of dice that you roll? Because it seems like belief goes up, and that might help you because you're rolling more dice. But that increases your chances of running away, but it also increases your chances of actually getting success investigator points.
That is 100% true. Everybody starts with the same belief, a belief of 3. Which means you're going to be rolling 3 dice every time that you enter a hotspot and try to talk about the phenomenon and make it true. If you get scared and run away, your belief goes up by 1. If you make your roll don't get scared, then your belief will stay where it is. So it's not a stat that you manage. It just goes up or down as we go through. So it'll fluctuate throughout the episode. And there's a point where your belief goes down as well. Hold on just a second. And let me misinform you guys. So give me just a sec. I read that. Come on, catch up.
While I was in internet purgatory, did you guys talk about PC organization name?
Did not. Why don't you guys talk about that while I glance at the belief stuff? I'm not sure where you lose belief. I know it's supposed to go back up or let's go. I know when it goes up, which is when you run away. But at what point do you lose belief?
It says you can spend 2 ego to reduce belief by 1.
There you go. That's where it is. Thank you so much, Stephen. You are the best. Yep, you can reduce your belief by 1 at the cost of 2 ego. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, Dylan. I didn't catch what you just said a couple seconds ago.
Oh, just about the organization name.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and should the organization name, should it be like tied to the idea like that we're creating a show? Like, should the organization name be the name of the public access channel TV show?
Yeah, so I was thinking, like they do like all those
Like Ghost
investigator
Hunters,
shows.
yeah.
I came up with something just when we were talking. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think it was the Paranormal Investigator Society / Gauntlet City. So I think it was PISS GC. I don't know if that's really where we're wanting to lean on that, but
you had me at piss.
Is that getting X'd?
No, but my character always refers to it as Pice.
Pice.
All right, so we will put that in then.
Okay.
You guys now have an organization name.
Piss GC.
Perfect.
I think we'd need the slash in there though. It should be piss / GC.
Yeah, the little
or hyphen or something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right, so we've got all those techniques hammered out. Excuse me. Belief and ego. So ego starts at a 1, and belief starts at a 3. Belief goes up when you run away, and then it can go down if you spend ego. Ego is something that happens at the end of each hotspot. You can, if you're successful with your investigation, you can choose to gain investigation points towards the completion of your mission, or you can gain back 2 or gain 2 more ego points. Ego is useful because it's a resource you can spend to increase your investigation. So before you go to the die roll, you can spend your ego. You can also, if you get roll in triplicate, which means 3 of a kind of any of the die types, you run away unless you spend an ego. And if you spend that ego, then you don't run away, which is super useful because if everybody runs away, then you don't get any investigation points and you go to the next hotspot and everybody gains belief, and just a bunch of scared kindergartners that are shivering and walking from room to room, which is hilarious TV. And then case log is the thing at the end. That's just where you would write down your case. The idea that if we do multiple cases, like I know 2 of the 3 of you will be investigators returning for the next episode, and one of you might get a real job, perhaps, in 2 weeks. Cool. Any questions as we jump into this before we go into the thing? Got an organization name. Anybody want to give a little bit more detail on their character? Like, hey, Dylan, why don't you introduce us a little bit more to Richie?
Sure.
Tell us what neighborhood they're from and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so Richie grew up in Stadium Park, and he was always like, too cool for school. So he never actually graduated. But he walks around with his leather jacket. He wears sunglasses even at nighttime. Smokes. Talks about how he could have been could have gone pro as a professional baseball player because he's just super athletic, and but his real calling is ghost hunting, and his mission is to make ghost hunting cool again.
Great. Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah. Yeah. cool again.
Yes, the again is important.
Oh man, does he have like a red cap with? No, sorry. Steven, tell us about like the delayed reaction. Steven, tell us about Doc.
Okay, Doc, he actually does not have any advanced degrees. It's just his full name is actually Meriadoc Gandalf Pippleton, and that was the best nickname he could come up with. He works at a dry cleaning shop in Candletree, and on his nights off, he likes to work with Pice GC. He tends to. He's somewhat overweight with a pot belly and a big salt and pepper beard. He dresses in tweed suits. He looks very much like an academic, and he likes to project that image. People just assume that he's very well educated, but he actually all he knows about paranormal investigation is what he's read in books and what he's seen on TV. So basically, he grew up watching this sort of paranormal show on Saturday morning TV, and this is his dream job.
Nice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the strong feeling, the possibility that Doc's parents were avid readers of perhaps Tolkien or other style of like.
Yes, that is a fair assumption.
Do they own like a musty used bookshop perhaps somewhere in Candleton? Or did you see them doing something
That
else?
seems, yeah. Right. Well, I think they worked at a musty used bookshop. Yeah, I mean they smoked. They definitely smoked a lot of marijuana in their day.
So they could have owned it if they were a little more motivated, but instead,
if they were more industrious, they might have. But
oh, that's delightful. Awesome. I like Doc a lot. Did Doc form this group, or was this another member of the team? So it kind of feels like he was the one who was super motivated.
He revived it. It was. I mean, it's been around since the 80s, but they weren't really doing much for a long time. And he's the one who sort of got in touch with the cable access people and recruited memberships. I mean, he got the cable access people to lend them the video camera that they use, and
I love it. Awesome. Andrew, please tell us about Victoria.
Yeah, so I was thinking for Victoria, she would be studious, hardworking, very straight-laced. She currently goes to Gauntlet City Community College for forensics. She's a little too afraid to leave town to go to university. And she wants to do something in like the CSI type show drama job, because that's her vice. That's the thing that she does to get away from the doldrums of everyday life, is just watch those shows. And so this is the next best thing, and this pays for her community college. And of course, it doesn't pay very well, right? But I think part of the reason why she hasn't left Gauntlet City and didn't move on to a larger community college is, I don't know, Richie Miller. Maybe she has a secret crush on Richie Miller, but she knows that she can't act on it, and it's definitely against her type of personality to be with the wild kind of investigator that he is. But
nice.
Yeah, definitely, that's what I'm thinking.
He prefers Untamed.
Untamed. You know, every pony can be broken. So
I love it. I really like that. That is awesome. Cool. All right, so we have begun the clock. You guys are approached by James Harrison. And he is from Candleton, actually. Candleton being where Doc is from, or Candletree. Oh, Candleton. I apologize. He lives on Lincoln Boulevard. Lincoln Boulevard is like it's like Lincoln Boulevard extension, right? So there's Lincoln Boulevard, which is the main thoroughfare. It's a big warehouse district, but there was an area around a park where some more residential setup was, whereas primarily Candletree is warehouse and apartment district. There's a small residential section, and that is where you would find the Harrison's house. It is a nice Victorian home, nuzzled back in the little bit of wooded area in the park, and it's quite nice. It's a 2-story place. And Mr. Harrison has reached out to you guys on the Piss GC tip line, left you guys a frantic voicemail at like 3 a.m, because there's, you guys have the really expensive Google Voice. So you get not only the text version, but the timestamp on the voicemail on your tip line. And he said his family is having problems because there's a haunting. Their teen son won't even sleep in his bedroom anymore. Their 8-year-old sleeps in their bed. They can't handle it anymore, and they are desperate for you guys to come in and prove it, and then to tell us what they can do, because they just really torn up. Now, question, our viewers might have is, why didn't he just call the inspectors? Because there's a local chapter of the inspectors that actually hunt ghosts. But maybe his wife is a fan of your show. We're not sure. But yeah, that's the call that you guys have received. Who checks the voicemail? Is that a thing Doc does, or is the studious analyst of Miss Peppercorn? I just imagine Richie doesn't really check voicemails, right? Yeah, okay. All right. So is that a thing that Miss Peppercorn did, or Doc?
I think it's something that Doc did. I have a feeling that it actually goes to the answering machine in his apartment. They don't have this really fancy voicemail stuff.
Okay, you just tell them about this Google. Okay, cool. Right. All right. Nice.
Right. Well, it's probably Google Voice, but he couldn't figure out Google Voice, and he worked out this really complicated workaround where the calls get rerouted to his answering machine. So there's probably so there's like 5 years worth of messages on Google Voice that still nobody's listened to, because I've been listening to all of them on my answering machine.
Cool. How do you reach out to the team? I'm kind of imagining, like, how is the summoning of Pies GC? How does that work, Doc?
Well, I call them on my landline.
Oh, okay. So when you call Richie, what is it?
I don't actually have a cell phone, although I've been thinking that I might want to get one of them one of these days, because they do sound useful.
Those commercials for Cricket look super great. When we see Richie for the first time, where is it that he got the call from Doc to come on this little excursion?
I think Richie's just, I think he's sitting in front of his house, maybe drinking beers, smoking cigarettes. Actually, no, he's sitting on the hood of his Trans Am, drinking beers, smoking cigarettes, when he gets the call, and he answers it. He says, "This is Richie."
Hi, Richie. This is Doc. We've got a case.
I know it's you, Doc. You don't have to say it's me, Doc. And I know we have a case. So what I don't know is where.
Oh, it's in Candletree. It's about 5 blocks from my apartment near the park. It's the Harrison house. Do you know it?
Of course I know the Harrison house. 5 blocks north, south, east, or west from you.
Well, the 2 blocks north and 3 blocks east.
I got it. Why don't I pick you up and you just show me how to get there?
Sure thing. I still need to call Victoria, though. Maybe you could swing by and pick her up on the way.
Yeah, I could pick Victoria up too.
Okay. Let me call Victoria and tell her you're coming.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so I hang up and I call Victoria.
Is this phone call? Did we say it's like at 3 in the morning, or are you calling us? What time are you calling?
I imagine you wait till the next morning, right?
Yeah. I was waiting until I waited until the morning. I sleep with earplugs, so I didn't actually hear the phone call
Okay.
at the time. But when I got up and got my coffee, I saw the light blinking.
Okay, so you call me, but you call my cell phone. I'm in the middle of class. It's finals. I'm at the community college. But when I see your phone call, it's that kind of comical. I take my papers, I throw them up in the air because doing any job for Doc Templeton is way more important than finishing these finals. So I've run out of class. I answer. I've got a pep in my step. Super excited. And I'm standing on the corner waiting for you guys. And you said that Richie's gonna come pick me up. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, Richie is on the way, Victoria.
Okay. So then she's, of course, when she hears it, she starts combing her hair and she's trying to ruffle her clothes and trying to make sure she looks presentable. It's really early in the morning, and she wants to make sure she puts up the best impression for Richie.
Nice. So we'll say this is the spring. Because you're taking like your spring finals kind of thing, heading into summer. It's getting warm outside. So Richie, you pull up in your, did you say Trans Am?
Red Trans Am.
It's a red Trans. Does it have like the fire, like anything on the hood, like some kind of?
No, the hood is black, or no, that gray, like Bondo gray.
Oh,
the rest of the car is red.
Yeah, so waiting at the corner is your teammate, other member of PISS GC.
Yeah,
Cool.
At this point, I've put on the PISS GC team member shirt, and I look all aflutter as your car rips around the corner, straight into the parking lot, like right into the perfect spot in front of me. The dust kicks up, and I'm all aflutter to see you, but I'm trying to well it down. Oh, Richie, hi. Oh, where are we going on this job?
We're gonna go pick up Doc, and then we're going to the Harrison house.
Oh, yes, yeah. I know this place well. I've researched it well. I've heard that there's been some issues with a family there recently.
Well, hop in. Let's waste no time.
Mm-hmm. I think for a second.
Right
I think for a second I might try to like do that cool hood slide thing, but that's not becoming of me, and absolutely not. And straighten myself up, go around the front of the car, and very simply get into I'll get into the back seat.
Well, no, you can ride up front, and I'll just sweep these cassette tapes off the chair, off the seat. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. And I look at them. I try not to step on them, but I'm sure I break a couple of them.
What is playing on? Which cassette is playing when you pull up to pick up Doc?
Oh, I think it's George Thorogood's greatest hits.
Oh, so it's bad because he's got the one. It's just
that's right.
It's like a single.
It just plays that same. Yeah, he just keeps rewinding it and playing it over and over again. Bad.
Doc, it looks like you have to sit in the back seat. How do you handle that?
Okay, that's fine. Statistically, the back seat is the safest location to be in the case of an accident. So I'm very pleased to be relegated to the back. And Richie, I love this song. This is a good omen.
What's some of the tech stuff? Because you're the techie, right? So what are some of the pieces of equipment that we see you are kind of going over as Richie pulls up to the long drive? We've kind of jumped ahead, right? The long drive to the house.
Right. Well, I've got the video camera, of course, and I've got an oscilloscope. I've got like a dowsing thing that's like a weight on a chain, silver weight on a chain. I've got I've got some headphones with a microphone that basically it's headphones with a microphone, but I'm convinced that you can pick up spirit noises on that system. I've got one of those sort of two-way mirrors that you can sort of see through it when there's so it's a semi-reflective mirror, which very good tool for picking up ghosts.
Semi-reflective mirror. I love it. Awesome. I'm kind of imagining you're like giving all this information to the camera, and this is a thing that we all get as you guys when bad finishes off. You park in front. If you look at the tab in our character keeper, you will see the 2-story Victorian house, the one that's got it's one of the styles that's got the porch that tails off to the left-hand side, and kind of a cool arched roof on one side, and a almost like castle tower type with a widow's peak in it. It's gorgeous. Nice place. And you guys park. You head as you're heading up the walk. Assume Mr. Harrison, late 40s, maybe 50s. He walks out. He's wearing a suit, but no tie, like it's unbuttoned. Maybe he came home from work. And then his wife comes out, and oh, good, the Piskisi. You guys, I'm glad you're here. Come inside. Is there anything you need to do out here, or do you have to ask us questions? How does it work?
Let's talk inside. I want to get all of the data I can about the nature of these manifestations before we begin conducting our tests.
Nice. And the wife, she admonishes her, Jim, I told you they were going to ask questions. This is Doc. He always asks questions. Oh, I'm a big fan of you guys. It's a great show. I can't wait. So they bring you in. You smell cookies in the area. And she says, would you guys like a coffee? And, Richie, what is what's the drink that you often have while you're on this? Do you have coffee or some kind of kind of pop, or?
Yeah, I think Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. And she says, I've got you a Mountain Dew, Richie.
So I kind of run my fingers through my hair and go, far out.
She brings you a 20-ounce Mountain Dew and offers you guys some chocolate macadamia nuts.
This is so kind. Now you know that we cannot show these cookies on the air, right? That would be like we have rules about commercial endorsements, and even though these are, don't worry about it. But thank you very much.
Oh,
I think during that, Richie's in the background, kind of doing the little.
I mean, it's not. No. Right. I mean, it's not intended as a slight. It's just we've got a few advertisers, and we can't show any homemade cookies on the show. But no, it's very kind of you.
She looks, Jim.
It's weird contracted.
It's so weird. I always wondered why no one. Okay, I didn't know. I don't understand this side of the camera. So sure, you guys, you don't have to show. You just enjoy the cookies.
Yeah, it is. I have found out so much about the showbiz world since we started doing this show.
Are we filming yet? Is anybody filming any of this as this prelude part, or as we approach the house, like as we walked in with?
I'm imagining all of this is on camera unless you guys expressly say otherwise. Okay. You can always edit.
Do we have our own camera crew, or are we filming this ourselves?
I don't know. Do you? Like, if you want your own camera crew, then you've got your own camera crew. You can address. You're going to do confessionals, so I imagine you've got at least one.
Yeah, I think the cable channel has a crew there, and he was like waiting for us for like 45 minutes. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Jeff. Right.
Jeff.
We forgot to mention it, Jeff, because we never mentioned Jeff.
Why should you? He's not a
I mean,
PC guy. He's
Well,
just he's crew.
right. Well, he never appears on camera, so it's easy to forget about him.
Cool. So we cut to you guys. We don't see the cookies they're eating. There's just crumbs of cookies on the nice plates. They have like duck insignias on them for some reason, like little duck symbols around the outside of the plate, but it's like a set. And Jim Harrison says, on this main floor, the living room is the worst. We've had sightings of we've seen a shadowy man standing in the corner like 3 o'clock in the morning a few times, at different times sometimes. And then the wife, Shelly, she says, when I sit here at the couch, I feel vibrations all the time during the day and the night. And our youngest, Tracy, she smells cigar smoke sometimes. So yeah, it's pretty crazy here in the living room. We don't really, movie night's been canceled for weeks.
So, Mrs. Harrison, why don't you show me where on the couch you were feeling these vibrations?
Cool. So she gets up and she says, I feel it right here. And she'll grab your hand and she like guides it to the leather of the couch. And yeah, so the hotspot rating of the living room, and this is your kind of target, is a 1 on the main area here. So the hotspot rating is a 1, which means it's pretty easy to find paranormal activity. So now that you've gotten a little bit of a layout of the main living room, you guys can start to work in your techniques. So I'm going to kind of bop around here, understand what Richie's starting to do. But what about Victoria? What technique are you using here?
Yeah, so I was thinking, you said before that there was that he called us and the message was left about when he called us asking for help. You said it was time stamped, so he was scared. Sorry, he was scared and he was looking for help. I'm going to say that I had brought maybe like a tape recording of that. And I would like to analyze if he's scared in the moment. Maybe I can hear some EVPs in the background, hear some spooky noises, or any sort of artifact that might exist on the sound recording of this that science can't answer yet. So I'm just gonna kind of sit down, be very quiet, pop on my cruddy like 80s style headphones, and see if I can hear any of that.
Nice
in the room.
The big one with the metal frame, with the
exactly.
Plastic. Oh, I love it. You got the pigtail cord that goes to, I love it. What about Doc? What technique are you engaging, Doc?
Well, I looked up some of the history of Harrison House before I came here, and there was how old is Gauntlet City? How old is the house?
Gauntlet City, it's like it's in the Midwest, so it's not, I would say it's like 1880s is kind of the first Gauntlet Village kind of stuff.
Okay, and this house dates back to the 19th century or early 20th.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So right. So I looked up the history of the first Harrison who built this house, and I've uncovered some evidence that he did smoke cigars.
Okay.
So it's possible that this is the shadowy figure who is haunting the Harrison house.
Okay. That sounds awesome. So it sounds like we have the setup for you guys to be able to make your rolls. Now, we're going to do it in turns rather than everybody all rolling at once, because in Roll for Your Party, if you're rolling multiple dice and multiple people doing it all at once, like everything bounces around, it gets crazy. So we will lead off with Dylan, if you want to go ahead and go first. Let's build your pool. Okay? So Dylan,
okay, I just have one issue, which is that if somebody gets triples, it sounds like the other players can end up rolling additional dice,
Yes.
which could change the results. So if we're going to erase dice between rolls, we need to keep
We're not going
track
to
of
erase any dice.
Okay.
We're just going to roll, move
Okay.
them down, and then
Okay.
roll, move them down. But that's a very good
Okay.
point, Stephen, because somebody
Okay.
might have gotten confusing. So
Right.
don't clear dice until we've completely resolved everybody's roll. Because exactly like if somebody gets scared and runs away, all the people who ran away add dice to the other people. So it's possible you may get one or two more dice to your roll. Thank you, Stephen. That's a really good point. So let's build that pool, but then we'll roll it and then we'll go to the next person. Richie, are you
doing this in? I'm sorry. Are you guys doing this in an app? Did I miss that, or are we just using our dice?
No, we have a rolling room, which is a website that the Gauntlet folks use. So I just linked you to it. Once you click over to it, and I'll do a quick screen share, and while Dylan builds his die pool, we'll walk through how it goes. Okay? Is that cool?
Got it.
All right. Let me pull the rolling room into a new tab, and then I will share that. Okay. Cool. So, taking a look. Oh, just to check in, Dylan, you were using sensitive since you wanted to go in and kind of touch it.
I guess so. I'm kind of, I'm investigating, but I'm also kind of trying to, not really hit on Mrs. Harrison, but get a feel for whether or not she might be.
Here, I thought you were like doing the thing, and you're doing a different thing. I'm sorry.
Wow, what a wild card! All right.
So I would roll. As my dice pool would be, I'd roll 4 for sensitive.
You roll 4 for sensitive. You roll 3 for belief.
Okay.
If you want to use up your point of ego, you can give yourself a 7th die. You're looking for evens.
Okay.
You do not want triples.
So I roll 4 and 3. So I roll 7 for just the belief and sensitive.
Yep. 7 total dice.
All right. So here we go. And I don't want 3 of a kind, right? Because then
right. And just to clarify for Andrew, what he did is he went up here and he then box before each of these. This is a D6 with pips, which is what you see here. And there's a D6 with numbers. And you can, on this drop down, you can choose the color. He chose the color of red. And then you hit submit and all these dice appear down here. And so he is looking for the hotspot rating is a 1. He definitely beat that. Right. So he was successful. And then he's looking to see if he has any triples. He doesn't. So he is in the clear and doesn't need to run away. So we're going to move all these over here. You can just grab it with your mouse and move it. Right.
Is that success with style?
It's a success with style, which has the exact same benefit as a success without style.
Cool.
In this game. But I'll let you add a little extra flair to make yourself feel awesome.
All right.
All right, you got that flavor. Keep it in your mind. So next, we're going to jump over to Stephen. You were using
research.
Research, right? Not analysis, sorry. You're using research. So you're rolling 6 dice. Do you want to spend your 1 point of ego for a 7th die?
No, I'll stick with just 6.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So choose a color other than red. And
I rolled a triple.
Yes! Oh, I love it. You can actually single click on any of these, and when they highlight orange, you can make a multiple die moves. You've got a triple ahead. So we're going to roll back to Dylan. Dylan, please roll 1 more. If you roll a 4, a 1, or a 6, you also get scared and run away.
Okay, here we go. I'm trying to click on yours. I'm trying to click on the wrong screen. Okay, here we go.
I've done that before.
So just 1, right?
Yep, just roll 1 pip red D6, and we'll add that to your total pool.
Okay, here we go.
Stephen, are you going to spend your 1 ego to not run away, or are you going to let yourself run away?
I'm going to let myself run away. This is going to be an exciting start to the episode.
Awesome. So go ahead and take your we'll take your belief and we'll move it from a 3 to a 4. All right, and now, Andrew, we're gonna make your character. Victoria needs to build hers. You were using analysis, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're using analysis, and you've got 7 total dice that you're rolling. Do you want to spend your ego?
Well, before I roll the 7, isn't it also one more because of the?
Great point.
I mean, not that I really
want
want
to make you do the one after the fact, which is dumb. So do all 8 at once.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with purple, and I hope I'm doing this right. Does that show up for you guys?
Did you hit the submit? Can you see them? Can you see the
I can
dice?
see them. Yeah.
Okay, let me refresh. Sometimes I have to refresh them. There they are. Oh,
Oh man.
So you got 1 even, which means you barely met the hotspot rating, but you also are going to run away. So guess what, Dylan? You get to roll 1 more.
All right, here we go.
Oh man, you are so lucky.
Wow.
You had a 50-50 shot of biting it. Oh man. Okay. All right. So
And then Steven, does he already ran? Does he need to roll another one, or is that it?
no,
Like
once you run,
you're
you
out?
run. So
Okay.
he got the 1, so he met the hotspot. He could have rolled that 1 more die if he hadn't gotten the total account of investigated toward hotspot. Once you run, you don't get any investigated points. Yeah, so there's no real reason. Once you are going to run, you say, "I'll go ahead and run."
Gotcha.
You can't get any investigated points, so you might as well just stop rolling dice.
Sure.
Otherwise, as time. But that's a great question.
Okay, so on my roll though, I definitely don't want to run because I don't want to look like a fool in front of Dylan's character, and I saw him kind of eyeing up Mrs. Harris, but I want to look like I'm here to stay, so I'm going to spend that ego point so that I don't run.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you spend the ego points so you don't run, which means that you can't gain the benefit of getting extra ego. You have to take the investigative points for this, and you got 1 success. So then the next decision point is, Dylan, you don't have to run, which means you get to choose. So Richie can choose to gain 2 in ego, or you can take the investigative points, which means that you would be kind of the lead investigator for this hotspot and get a confessional. Which allows you to kind of talk to the camera and tell us what happened as you guys resolve this particular hotspot.
Okay, and if I'm like as I'm talking to the camera, it's well. The first question is: does Doc rejoin us at any point?
He will later. Yeah, you guys can go talk him back or whatever. He went to the truck to get more equipment. However you want to explain it, but
okay.
If you get the confessional, you can kind of you can narrate how it is that Dog freaked out and left.
All right, and to get the confessional, I need the I need to take the
increase. You can either increase your ego.
No, I'll leave my ego, and I'll go with the I'll take the investigative points.
All right. So by taking the investigative points, that means that you gain an additional 2 bonus points of evidence because of your excellent work. So so for Victoria on row 11, you see the evidence points. You got 1 evidence point. Okay. Now, Richie, you rolled a lot of evens. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you get 2 more because you are lead investigator. So you get 6 total points. Now, those 7 all count up towards the grand sum to solve this. Okay? Is that clear as mud, everybody? All right.
How many points do we need to solve it?
That is a secret that I keep, and I reveal it at the end of our episode.
Okay.
So this is now the confessional. The confessional is where you get to say what happened with your particular findings, like how, as a sensitive, you were able to prove some paranormal, and then you get a little bit of authorial control over how it was. You got some help from Victoria, and then maybe what happened with Doc and why he might have gotten freaked out.
All right.
Then we'll move to the next hotspot. Does that make sense? Is that clear enough? It
I
could
think
be
so.
real short. You don't have to
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be like a soliloquy. Like we're out and getting Shakespearean up here. Just some fun.
Yeah. All right. To be real honest,
Is that cough medicine you're taking down there?
No, it's my son's like organic juice.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
But I need to get my energy up if I'm going to catch these ghosts. So
Okay,
Yeah.
totally in character. I give
like
you
squeezed applesauce.
5 XP for that one, Andrew. Good job. All right, so Dylan, go for it.
So to be honest, I was scared shitless, but I had to play it cool, you know, with Mrs. H there right next to me on the couch and all. But Doc, oh my gosh, I thought he was going to run through the wall. He was so terrified. And I don't know, Victoria seemed to keep it together. So good for her. She might, she might do well at this. Do I get to? Do I talk about what I found? Did I feel something?
Yeah. Just do a little confirmation of the
yeah.
actual paranormal stuff.
Yeah. So there was definitely some vibrations in that couch. Something going on there. Some kind of communication, like a warning kind of vibration. You know what I mean? So that was the scary part. But I've been there before. I've seen this stuff before. I'm if we're gonna figure out like what the source of this haunting is and all, I gotta play it cool and keep playing it cool. So sticking around, and I'm gonna look for more of these spiritual vibrations from the afterlife.
Nice. That's great. Awesome. So we've just done a hotspot. Good job. So who goes out to get Doc and kind of bring him back in? Is it Victoria, or did Richie head out, or did you send one of the Harrisons out to find him?
I could go out there. I'm gonna rip the headphones off my head and run out there because I'm also very scared, but I somehow kept it together for that scene. And I see Doc, and he's over by a tree next to a swing, and he's contemplating getting onto it, but he knows he can't balance, so he just kind of holds on the wooden seat. And I tell him we're about to move on to another area, and I look really excited, and maybe my excitement kind of snaps him back into it. Right. And without even really waiting for him to follow me, I kind of like skip up and run back into the house to let him know that we're heading off to the next place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hyperventilating, and I pull out my inhaler, and I take a quick puff, and it's like, I mean, I've got a file folder in my hand, and I probably got a picture of is Ezekiel Harrison, the builder of this house, and it shows. It's like this man was known to smoke cigars. This is either proof of a ghost or an incredible coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. This is amazing. This is just amazing. I mean, how could these people have known that Ezekiel Harrison smoked cigars? They could not have made this up. I for one thought they projected an incredible air of sincerity. So more when we come back from the commercial break. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then I follow Victoria into the house. I mean, this is basically a trope of the genre. I always freak out the first scene. Our viewers expect it of me.
That's awesome. And Shelly, who's the big fan, like she was just thrilled to be part of this. So excited that you ran off like all the other episodes. So you come back in, she's very conciliatory. But Jim, who maybe not quite big of a fan, he's like, okay, we need you guys. So we have another area. It seems like we have some problems here up on the second story. Okay. So we're gonna head up there if that's all right. Do you guys? Is that right? Or do you
Yeah,
need to do another
that's
thing?
all right.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Jim, you don't mind if I smoke, do you?
Yes, I do.
It actually helps me detect the spirits.
It looks to Shelley. She just nods her head. Yes, you may smoke in our house.
And he offers one to Mrs. Harrison too.
Oh, she's. Oh, I haven't smoked since college. But if it'll help the investigation.
Yeah,
I bump past as you try to light it, and I stomp up the stairs. And I'm like, "You're contaminating the paranormal site. It's dulling your senses." God. And I stomp up there, not waiting for anyone.
Nice. So you guys are brought up to the second story where most of the bedrooms are, and Jim leads you into the bedroom of his son, Georgie. Georgie isn't here. We have him staying at a friend's house. Our parents are keeping Tracy. We really didn't want them to have to deal with this, but we can call them on the phone if you need. You look in the room, there are posters. It looks like Georgie is really into video games. He's got a PlayStation 3 and a little flat screen TV on a tiny little like TV cart type deal. All kinds of posters for Minecraft and, just your general PvP shooter stuff, Call of Duty, Battlefield, all the kind of, it's all festooned, like all kinds of little thumbtacks and the like. And in a slightly wigged out voice, Jim says, so Georgie, he stays here, and he has told us he won't sleep in this house anymore, or won't sleep in this room anymore. He says he sees an old man. And he's even felt like the old man would sit on his chest and he can't breathe. And I've come in, I've sat with him, and he gets these terrible headaches. We're not sure where that came from. And Shelley jumps in. Is that the evil man spirit that's giving him the headaches?
Well, that's a common misconception. Ghosts are generally not evil per se. They merely have a baneful influence due to a limited ability to interact with the material world. They really don't understand the harmful effect of their actions. So if we can find a way to communicate with the spirits, we can usually satisfy the cause of their discontent and thereby bring peace to the house. That is our goal. That is our mission.
Jim seems very comforted by this assurance. And Shelley nods along like she's heard this speech a few times before. She's like, right, I want to talk to her. I told you, Jim, this is good. I'm so glad they're here. Cool. So what do you guys do? You got a bed. It's a bed with a couple of side tables. Got a bunch of posters in here. You got the PlayStation 3 and an old Wii that's kind of shoved underneath the TV stand, and the TV itself closet, and then there's a window that outlooks over into the yard. So I want to know what are you doing in this room?
Well, yeah, I want to grab Shelley's hand, and I know that she's a fan, and I can see it in her face. But I had some questions for her because I want to investigate Georgie's behaviors, because it sounds like he's into video games, pretty violent video games. I grab her by the hand, and I reassure her that we're here to help. But I want to ask, does he fall asleep with the video games on? Does he wear headphones when he plays? Is he drinking a lot of Mountain Dew when he plays? And I look over at over at my teammate, because that kind of behavior just isn't befitting of any man or boy. So I just want to know, is he playing these games late at night? Is that possibly where his sound could come from, or does he leave the TV on?
Nice. She nods. That's a great question. We have a very strict bedtime, and I'm rather sure that Georgie goes to bed at 10:15, and I don't think he stays up and plays video games. Jim says, Shelly totally does. That's why he asked for that wireless headset, so that you couldn't hear him anymore. He plays it all hours of the night. In fact, when I called you guys last night, light was on underneath the door. He was up still.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be looking at the electrical integrity, and if he's got the rat nest of cords behind the TV. If he has more than one system, I'm sure he has all these sort of like aux cables and yellow and blue. He probably has like the old original like Super Nintendo power brick that's just falling out of the wall. I'm sure he has all these kind of explanations that could be why you've seen a man. The image could be burnt into the screen. You know, you might have heard screams and yelling and shooting from these video games. That mixed with the headset on his head, he may be having these waking nightmares. So I'm just gonna be looking at those to see if I'm finding a cord that's torn, or maybe sort of
Awesome.
Mountain Dew spills that are like sorting out the system, that kind of stuff.
Cool. What is it that you are doing, Doc?
I'm going to set up the PICE GC spirit detector, which we do this pretty some point during every show pretty much. Basically, it's a theremin, and I set it up. I've got the headphones with the microphone. I'm analyzing the sounds that are coming out of the spirit detector, and I'm looking for any wavelengths that are particularly associated with spirit manifestations.
Nice. I like it a lot. Cool. And then Richie.
So I think Richie's just kind of walking around the room, picking stuff up, like looking at it, examining it. Maybe at one point he walks around the bed, like kind of lifts up the mattress, looks under the mattress, just kind of like just looking around the room, picking up some stuff and trying to get a feel for, just if anything gives him a vibe.
Awesome. It's best being sensitive. You just basically feel stuff. Is there anything he expects to get?
Maybe he's thinking he might get something off of like when he picks up like any of the gaming stuff, the controllers or the headset. He examines that stuff. Some of the electrical, the video gaming equipment.
Nice. There's a point where he like lifts up the mattress, and in between the mattresses, he sees several copies of Electronic Gaming Monthly, all hidden there. Yeah, you thought it was going to be porn, but you were wrong.
I forgot how old the kid was. I was inside. I didn't.
Oh, he's like.
Okay, yeah. I'm totally good with the video game magazines.
Awesome.
His dad's video game magazines.
Exactly. His dad's video game magazines. When the games like old, and they weren't even retro then. They were original. So Victoria, let's build your die pool and see how it goes.
Cubert on the cover.
Sorry. Okay, so Victoria, you were going with technology, like you were doing some interviews. So, what were you headed for?
Yeah, I think I'm fine with. Let's see.
I mean, I could see research here.
Because I was
asking a lot of questions.
I was kind of asking what had happened in the past. Yeah, I'd say research fits. Sure.
All right. So
let me ask before. I did spend an ego. Does that mean that I no longer have 1 point of ego?
You do not have any ego right now. Yeah, let me go ahead and mark that up. Thank you for asking that.
Cool. And then is my belief still 3? I didn't run, so it should still be at 3?
Yep.
Cool.
You're rolling just 5 dice. Looking for you.
Just 5 dice. Here we go.
No trips. Evens. No trips. Evens.
And what's this hotspot rated?
Oh, great question. I should have told you that. This hotspot rating is bedroom 2. It is a very low. They've taken you to the 2 hottest spots. It's a 1. You only need 1 success.
Oh, nothing. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
You got an even, 2 evens and no trips, so you're good. Actually, 3. Nice roll.
Oh, cool. Sweet. As long as nobody makes me roll anymore, I think I'm okay.
I think you are too. So now let's go to Doc. Let's build your pool. Are you spending any ego, Doc?
No.
And
No,
definitely sounding like you're using tech
Right.
plus your belief. So you've got 8 dice here.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, look at all those 3s. So
Yes.
many 3s. Oh man.
Okay.
You want to spend an ego or are you gonna get
Yeah,
that?
I'll spend an ego to keep from running.
All right, cool. So by spending an ego to keep from running, that means you have 2 successes on your roll. What are you using? Sensitive and belief. Do you want to spend any ego, Richie?
I don't think so. I'm just going to roll with just the straight 7. And
that's trips. So
you
gonna run?
Yeah, why not?
Awesome. So what is it that you found in the room that just sparks this primal fear in you and brings absolute belief?
Like when I pick up the game controller, I could feel right at that moment that something else in a from another dimension is playing on that same controller at the same time.
Oh man.
It's like it's in use at the same moment that I'm picking it up and feeling it, and that just freaks me out. So I bolt.
Right.
Not
The video
only-
game controller is warm even though nobody's been using it.
Yes.
You
Wow.
feel it in your hands. That controller goes up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right. EA start.
Oh my god. Oh my god! I drop it on the floor and I start walking backwards, and I just turn around and I'm like, need air, need air.
Nice, nice. You head to the hallway, the top of the stairs. Then you have to go down the stairs. So we roll over to Victoria. You see that. You see your brave, beloved Richie take off. You have to roll a die.
Oh no. Okay. So
You're
just one
fine, though.
here.
You actually can't. You just can only make your investigation better. You're fine. Don't
Yeah, I
worry.
guess that's true. Okay.
Ooh, another even. That actually gives you
Another
4. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good. You can show him now. What is it? What is it we see from Victoria that gives her like even more conviction in proving this paranormal?
Yeah, so I would say seeing Richie run away gives me the boost of confidence I need to know that what I'm doing, I belong here. He ran off. I'm the only one who hasn't run off. And looking at all the evidence and looking at the controller and looking at all of the cords and looking at the parents, I realize that I'm at home in this moment, and this is something that I love. This isn't just a side job. This is something that I may pursue, may even quit college for. But looking down at all of the cords in the controller, I can still see that there is a little bit of ectoplasm all over his posters in his room, and it leads me to know that there is evidence here.
Sweet. And now, last but not least, Doc, you have one more die. Oh, you've already spit your ego, so you're good. You're good. You're good.
Right, but I could get another success, couldn't
Yep.
I? So
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and
Yeah.
roll and see if you get another
All right.
success. Are you sure it's ectoplasm?
right.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
You picked up on
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean when right. So when Richie runs, it startles me, and my microphone shifts. There's a spike in the theremin, and that startles me more. Which there's even an even louder spike, and I almost lose it. I almost run, but I keep it together, and because yeah, this is definitely evidence of some very powerful spiritual forces in this room. I mean, even if Victoria hadn't found the ectoplasm, I would know that this room was just full of ectoplasm.
Nice. Okay, so at the end of this result, Victoria, you are the lead investigator for this hotspot. Both of you have gained investigation points or evidence points, which you can add to your total. So, Victoria, you had 1 and you got 2 for being lead investigator, and you rolled 4 successes. So, you get a total of 6. So, you go up to 7 evidence points.
Okay. Is there a way? Wasn't there a way I could convert some of that to go back into ego, or is that no?
No. The way that you get ego is you don't take the points. Like if you want to not take the points right now and let Doc be the lead investigator, then you get 0 investigative points. You'll stay at 1, but you can get 2 ego points back.
No, thank you. All right. That doesn't seem like I'm trading up there. So I'm sorry. You said I gained how many?
You gain a total of 6 because you got 4 that you rolled plus 2 for being the lead investigator.
All right.
Now,
cool.
Because you spent an ego not to run away this time, Doc, you have to take the investigative points. Have to take,
right.
Which means you get 3 total investigation points, and that'll be evidence points. I keep saying investigation. You get 3 evidence points. Cool. So as lead investigator, Victoria, you get to have a little bit of confession time. So what is it that you tell the television audience?
Yeah, so I think it's like the talking head scene, right? Where it's just like me looking at the camera.
100% that, yes.
Victoria has a gigantic smile on her face. Her face is beaming, and it's just pure elation of everything she could possibly want in this moment of seeing Richie run away like a little girl and seeing him humbled, and her finding the evidence in this room and really finding herself in this moment, and her her confidence beaming and knowing that she's doing true good for this family. And she's just about to find that evidence she's looking for. She knows that evidence is there. And she says, when it comes to finding truth or not truth, empirical evidence is the most important part. And you can't help families, you can't help anyone unless you have that solid empirical evidence. And she thinks about the scene for a second. And the only thing that could have made it better is if Richie noticed her on the way out of the room. So she doesn't have it all, but she's getting there. But she's excited for whatever this next room is.
He didn't notice her? Oh, man. Oh.
My shining moment of being on top, and Richie wasn't there to see it.
That's true. He ran away. Okay. So once you finish up your recording, we come back to Richie. Shelly came down to check on you. She offered you another Mountain Dew. She rubbed your back a little bit to make sure you're okay. We have a moment where Victoria comes downstairs, gets a chance to view Shelly rubbing his back. And then, so I've dropped in The Haunting of Harrison House, the first and second floor maps, and I'm about to add, there is also, dun dun dun, an attic. So, are there any rooms that call to you guys that seem technologically important, that maybe your research gave rise to suspected hauntings that feel weird? Are there any rooms in here that you think you have to hit next?
The master bedroom.
Sorry. Awesome. Cool. So as you enter the master bedroom, the hotspot rating is 3 for master bedroom. So I'll just put a 3 by it so you guys can see it. All right. Cool. So the master bedroom, rating is 3. You come in, there's a nice king size bed, and the flat screen TV that's mounted on the wall opposite, large, unfinished wardrobe that sits across one side there. A couple of windows on either side of the large king size bed, and this like freaky ass carnival mounted poster thing from like the 60s or something, and some other bric-a-brac. In fact, there's a little vanity as well, also unfinished wood, a mirror. And as you can see from the map, the master bedroom has a master bathroom as well. So what is it that you guys are doing? And have you shooed off the Harrisons at this point, or are you still bringing them along?
I think we're bringing them along. I want to interview them about any manifestations that have occurred in the master bedroom.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So are you headed towards, with that kind of research then, are you looking to use the research technique? Is that what you're leaning towards?
Research, or maybe analysis, if I can find a pattern in what in the manifestations.
Nice. Okay, so they'll start describing to you that they hear weird sounds at night.
Right. So I'm sort of asking what sort of sounds, how often do they hear them, where do the sounds seem to be coming from?
Oh, Shelly, she gets all drawn up into this. I hear wheezing like an old man, and she starts telling this. And Jim looks at her. He's not entirely sure. That doesn't sound like anything he's heard before, but he's letting her go.
Yeah.
What is it that Richie is doing?
I think Richie sits on the bed and kind of signals for, pats the mattress for Mrs. Harrison to sit next to him on the bed, and and he says, "Is this where is this where you hear the wheezing noises?"
She sits down beside you, your thighs touch, and she turns towards you, and you actually feel her brush up against your arm. Inadvertent. It is. This is where I hear the wheezing at night. This is my side of the bed.
I mean, Mrs. Harrison, if you could demonstrate with Richie exactly what position you and your husband are in when this happened.
Oh,
I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Richie, you be Jim, and I'll be me. And she gets up and she lays down on the bed and she points like, "You be me." And her husband's saying that, shouldn't I be me? No, you're not. He's sensitive. He has to know these things. Usually I'm touching him. Lay down over here, Richie. What are you doing, Victoria?
I am. I've seen this, and so I go into they have like the cabinet or the boudoir or whatever it's called. Looks like original. Maybe was here when they moved in, and I'm so flustered. I've crawled inside of it, and I'm just standing in this closet, so no one can see how I'm kind of stomping up and down at how ridiculous this is, and how I seem to be the only one who has sense on this team or can see what's going on. But I can't let Richie see how red my face is, so I've stuck myself in there in the name of investigating, but really I just want to scream.
You're doing the thing of like, you're kind of sort of crying and you've got the Blair Witch snot bubble going on. Is that what we're seeing? All right, awesome. I just wanted to say Blair Witch snot bubble. That was all.
With the GoPro turned towards you.
The GoPro turned towards you. That's right. Right. You won't let Jeff in.
I'm so angry. I'm so angry and jealous right now.
That was awesome. Okay, great. Sweet. So we have a setup for Richie's sensitive side. We see a bit of the analysis that's ongoing from Doc and Victoria.
Yeah, sorry. So for mine
No,
though, I'm just gonna ask: Is this boudoir that's in here? Was it here when you first moved in? Because it looks very old. Looks like it might have been here in the house before you moved in. And I'm asking this through the door, so it's like this, because I don't want anyone to see how mad I am. Was this here before you moved in?
Awesome. So you're working through through research as well, through interviews.
Well, sorry. What I wanted to do is, if it was old, I wanted to take my Walkman, because it's pitch black in there, right? Because the door's shut.
Sure.
And I'm gonna use the little red light that's on my Walkman to ask the ghost, if there is a ghost here, questions if it will turn the light on, and kind of try to communicate with the ghost. If it's here, it'll use its energy to manifest itself through the little red blinking light on my. And I don't know what that would. That's maybe tech or sensitive.
It sounds like tech to me. I like
tech,
it.
yeah.
I like it a lot. Yeah. And of course, even though it's pitch black, you're in that like green look of the oh shoot, what is that called? The night vision. Yeah, the night vision filter for your GoPro. So yeah, I love it. Cool. So let's go ahead and run through our die pool. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off with Victoria now. Victoria, using tech and your belief of 3, you have a total of 6 dice. You have no ego to protect you.
Oof, no ego. God darn. Okay. So if I get 3 of a kind, I have to run. Is that what that means?
You
I have to
up and you go.
Ooh, okay, here we go. Oh,
those are 3 4s. That would have been really nice. Oh no.
Okay, so I must run. Does that mean?
Must run.
Okay, so just the stress of hearing all the oohs and ahs and the coddling that's going on in this bed, and just this manipulation of the situation where I'm trying to find actual evidence. I don't even notice that the Walkman I'm holding, the red light is just going crazy. And when I look down, it overwhelms me in my anger, and the tears are welling, and I run out of the door, blasting it open, and I run down the stairs and drop my Walkman, and it drops, and the batteries explode everywhere. And I don't care, but I have to get out of this room because my emotions are just overcoming me.
Nice. Let us go over to Doc. Do you want to go next, or you want to go last?
Sure, I'll go next.
Okay, cool.
So that's going to be, I guess, 7 dice, because 2 + 4 + 1.
Ooh, you're spinning your ego?
No, but I get an extra die because she ran.
Yep. Sorry.
And I don't actually have an ego to spend because I spent it in the last scene to avoid running.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Adjust that.
So, and yeah, I blew it too.
3 5s. Okay, Doc, what happens when you see your compatriot Victoria run out screaming, blubbering?
Right. I mean, I've been talking to Mrs. Harris, and it's like I'm really getting into it. This is just amazing. Everything is connecting, and then suddenly Victoria bursts out of the boudoir and starts running, and the batteries are flying, and I freak out. I jump up and I dash after Victoria, and I slam into the wall next to the door. I sort of stagger back, and clearly dazed, and I stumble out the door after Victoria.
Nice. I love it. Last but not least, we have Richie. After your 2 compatriots go, you now have to add 2 dice to your total.
I have to roll 10 die here. 10.
You do.
Oh man, there's 0 chance I'm not running.
You're still running, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look at those 3 5s.
Yeah.
You can spend your
Oh.
one and only ego.
That's right. I do have an ego, so I might as well spend that now then.
Hold on. So yeah, if you spend that ego, you're going to get 3 investigative points, plus 2 for being lead investigator. So you get 5 points on the evidence points if you want.
Yeah, I'll spend an ego.
All right. So you spend your one and only ego.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and reset that out. And so you get a confessional, and we'll go see. It's 1, 2, 3. So you get 5 more points. You're 6 already extant, so you have 11 evidence points. You guys sum up to 21 right now.
Wow.
What happens in your confessional?
All right. Well, so I think before the confession, like what happened, when Victoria came bursting out and ran, and Doc then turned around and ran. I think Mrs. Harrison got scared and like reached over and like grabbed me, and I would have otherwise run, but that was strangely comforting. So that let me stay. That allowed me to stay behind, but and hide the fact I was scared shitless. But yeah, I heard the wheezing, and I don't know if Doc and Victoria heard it too, but I could hear the wheezing, and it was like talking to me, and it was saying, it was saying their level 5 is unbeatable. It said, and that was just, it was like level 5 is unbeatable, and yeah, it was freaky.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay. At this point, I think if you guys wanted to work through, and this, I'm kind of stepping out of character. Again, this is timed. There is a kind of wrap up at the end. Do you guys want to do one more room, or do we want to kind of leave this last bit of time for wrapping up and the episode, and whoever has the most points is the person that kind of gets to tie it off at the end? What do you guys think?
Wrapping up sounds good. That we can just kind of want it to be without. I'm sorry. Am I muted?
You were cutting in and out. It was weird.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think you said wrap it up, right?
Yeah, wrap it up just because that way we can put a button on it and let it end the way we want to versus trying to feel rushed by doing another room.
Awesome. So after investigating the master bedroom, after investigating Georgie's bedroom, and then the living room, you guys realize you've got enough tape and recordings where you can stitch together an episode. As you look at the total of evidence points, it sums up to 21 total evidence points, which exceeds the evidence points to prove that this is a haunting. So you guys believe, you got no ego to protect you anyway, you believe that this place is haunted. Richie, as lead investigator, you get the final say. What is it that you tell the Harrisons as the 3 of you as a team are gathered together? And if you want to add a little something in, Doc or Victoria, a couple moments that you can give what you think is the big haunting, what's causing the haunting, that kind of thing. And then Richie gets to tie it all in a bow. So Doc or Victoria, who wants to go first with what you're saying to the Harrisons right now?
Go for it, Doc.
Okay. Yes. I mean, clearly we have established that the ghost of Ezekiel Harrison has been haunting the Harrison house, and we suspect that the proliferation of video game systems has upset the etheric atmosphere of the house, causing this ghost to become active. And we think that we can modify one of their spare consoles to be even more spiritually sensitive so that the ghost can actually interact with the video game system, and that will cause him to become less bored, more engaged with the world, and the disturbing manifestations will cease.
That's awesome. 12-step program for ghost video games is the best.
Yeah, we just need to familiarize him with modern technology, and once he understands what's happening in the house, he'll be much less upset.
Nice, nice. Victoria, what is it that you tell the Harrisons during the wrap up here?
Yeah, so digging deep within my NCIS history and what I went to school for at this community college, I realized that a hypothesis is only as good as how you test it. And looking at the body of evidence and all this empirical data, I realized that the entities that are in this house, they need to draw from energy. And it wasn't until we brought in a big blowhard, an ego with the head of the size of balloons, and asshole who only cared about himself. Was there enough energy in this house to get good data for this entity to manifest itself? So I guess we have that going for us.
That's good. Richie, you get to wrap it all up in a bow and sign off for Piss GC.
Yeah, so I've kind of seen this before, and what you've got here is you've got a specter poltergeist that is Ezekiel Harrison, who grew up at a time without video games, and now that he has all these video games, he has developed what some know as gamer's thumb. So having a poltergeist with gamer's thumb, there's really only one cure that you could do. You're going to have to get rid of the gaming systems. Get it, all of them. They all got to go. Everything. All the game systems got to go. Give it a week or two, and the gaming thumb will get better, and your poltergeist will be gone. Case closed.
And we go through the little video package that you guys paid somebody on Fiverr to create for you that wraps it up, and you have the credits that roll, and there we go. That will bring to a close the first episode of Dude Run.
I think during the credits, maybe Jeff, who hates this job, likes to edit together all the scenes of us running away.
Yeah.
It just plays them all over, either slow motion or.
Right. The scene of me running into the wall, he's got that on a loop.
Yeah.
And it like starts off and it's like almost the beginning to the Michael Jackson's Thriller, but then it shows you running into a wall and then drops into yakety sax, and it's just,
like Benny Hill kind of,
and Richie running down the stairs and he plays it in reverse and backwards and forwards.
And then the snot bubble routine, like up and down again. It totally messes with it. It gets memed up on YouTube. Somebody find it. It's the best. Sweet. So that will bring to close the first of two of Dude Run. I'd like to take a minute here. If you guys have a few minutes left, it's a 2-hour block, so hopefully I'm not taking too much time. I'd love to do Roses and Thorns. Roses and Thorns, and a couple of you guys are probably familiar with it, but just to make sure everybody's clear. Roses and Thorns are just a feedback where you guys can talk critically about your actual feelings of playing this new game, playing with me as a GM, the rules, the setup, the Google Sheets, roll for your party, anything and everything is fair game. I think of gaming as not only a fun hobby and activity, but also a little bit of a craft. And so I always feel like I can do better. And this is where I like to know what I could improve on or what I did well that I can continue to do. It's also an area where we can talk about the game, and then on Roses, give attaboys or attagirls to our fellow players. So we'll start off with thorns so that we can end with roses and all feel great. Thorns. I felt like I knew the game going in, but you guys hit me with some very simple questions that caused me to hitch up. Like, how does ego go and how does this work? And so, learning process, I probably should have at least tried to run through a couple scenes, like pulled my wife aside and said, please play this game with me, because like it made sense in my head from reading, but then once it hits the table, games always seem to like change from what I thought they were going to do. So boo on me. I could have done a little bit better in knowing some of the aspects of the system. I wouldn't call them outliers. They were very logical questions. Let's see, other pieces. I don't know. I feel like maybe I could have done better in describing more like how a ghost investigation goes, but I also was strapped for time. So punchier way of describing that in the setup might have been more helpful. So Dylan, what thorns did you have from the game?
So the one thing that kind of made me feel like something was missing, I feel like there really should be something like, if all four of us get run away, there should be some other kind of consequence or effect or some, I don't know what it is, but I just felt like there was something really missing in that one room where we all rolled runaway. I mean, I ended up using my ego. Yeah, I ended up using my ego, but there really needs. I don't. I just felt like something was missing there. Like if all like, or it should be like like if we all like if I didn't have an ego, and what if I did have to run away, and we all three of us had to run away, there should be some kind of major consequence. I feel like
that'd be interesting. I mean, everybody's belief would go up by one, but other than that, it's kind of a block or a stymie, right? Because you get no evidence points, so no one progresses further in figuring out. Although I do like the kind of non-lose condition, and there's a win and then a not lose condition. So no matter what, it's almost like the points don't matter. Like in
even just a complication though. It doesn't have to be like a huge, but,
I get
but
you.
just some kind of extreme complication. Like we have to jump through some kind of hoop. Because our show will be in jeopardy or something. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what it is, but I really felt like something was missing. Missing from there. It was too much of a a win not lose.
Do you see that as like like you would want some other mechanical impact if all three run, or a narrative impact?
Both. I mean, I think it should be a mechanical that forces some kind of narrative consequence, like that, something that we have to do that maybe is different than just because it seems like it's a rare thing to happen. So it would.
So to me, just to kind of talk it out,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to defend anything, but what was in my head was, if you had run away, if you hadn't spent that ego, you guys would have had to come back like late at night. I would have kind of changed the narrative a little bit. There wouldn't have been a the mechanics that I know don't do anything. But I definitely would have said, okay, you guys left the site. Like Jeff, the cameraman, went on break, and you guys had to come back, and we'll reset it at like 3 in the morning, and you won't have the Harrisons to walk you around, and you'll be a little spookier. That's what I would have done.
That would have done it for me, I think.
Cool. Okay. That's good to know. Any other thorns, Dylan?
No, the ego thing was a little bit difficult to grasp at first, but
yeah, yeah. I hear you, and especially since I don't think I did a good job. That's one of the weakest points of me introducing the system, is how ego works. Cool. Thank you, Dylan. Steven, what thorns did you have for the game?
Right. The whole running away thing, it's like, it was sometimes, why did you run? It's like nothing happened, but you got scared. So it sort of threw me a bit out of the role-playing experience. You've got something happening because of the dice, but there's not really any reason for it to be happening. So, and also the results that you're getting from the successful investigation, it's like, okay, how do you introduce new information as a result of this thing, which didn't really have any effects? So it's sort of, I mean, I sort of wanted it to be something a little more real going on. So some sort of stuff that wasn't just coming from the players to say for you to say, oh, that's what this means, rather than you describe what you're doing and then you sort of describe how you're misinterpreting it.
I hear you. The thing, and I also saw that's a weird tightrope to walk. Is like
Right.
it's almost violating the Sega principle of the idea of making your own challenge for you to defeat.
Right.
That said, like I also felt weird as the skeptic, right? I shouldn't make any of these scary things truly scary things, because part of this is you sit on the edge of like, are they full of crap or is there legitimately something scary?
Right.
And yeah, I hear you. I love the moment, and I'm dipping into a rose here, but I love the moment when Andrew, when you describe the lights actually coming on the recorder, because that was like you
Could have been a loose wire.
Right.
yeah, it could totally be a loose
Right.
wire, but you were almost inserting a little bit of the spooky, and I like that a lot. But you're right, Stephen. It's a weird point. Like,
yeah, I mean, I want some sort of unexplained things to be happening.
So maybe if instead of just saying, okay, you got scared, I could have done a thing that also is mundane that happens in response that you could trigger off of. Do you think that helped?
Yeah, maybe.
Cool. Okay.
There's a sudden noise or something that freaks us out. I don't know. Yeah,
I can totally do that. I can do that next time. It makes a lot of sense to me, so I like that.
Right. And one thing I would have sort of liked to know at the beginning how many scenes there would be. Like if you said we expect to have 3 or 4 scenes.
Fair. I didn't know how many we'd have, honestly.
Right.
Like, I would tell you, but I was like, I don't know. We'll do it in an hour and a half. So, but now I think I have a little bit more of a feel, and so we might be able to kind of set that at the outset.
Right, and that sort of helps you pace the storytelling. It's well, how much do I try to establish in this first scene?
Right, and I think it also helps you understand how you want to game it. Like, do I really want to spin the ego this early on?
Right.
I want to take the evidence points now, or do I want to boost my ego because I know we've got 3 or 4 more scenes? I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Anything else, Stephen?
No, not in Thorns. No.
Andrew, finish this off in Thorns, sir. What Thorns?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I would say before the game started, I didn't quite understand maybe like genre feel of it. I didn't know if it was going to be like a paranormal like TAPS kind of thing, where that's definitely what it felt like, where we were like, it was a TV show going into it. I didn't know. I just thought someone said something about Ghostbusters, where it was kind of more like that, but those two things didn't. They don't seem the same, and so I kind of didn't know what to expect moving in. And I don't know if genre wise in like the PDF that you have, if it's leaning one way or the other. But I definitely. I mean, I guess I didn't really understand as I was building my character. I liked those beginning scenes where we kind of had a little bit of narrative as far as, building who we were and what our relationship was before we went into the actual investigation, because that gave us a little bit more narratively to play with. But I kind of didn't really know where we were headed. So I think that was something where I didn't really know, like when I was building a character. I also, for some reason, before we even started, I thought that we were just going to play ourselves. I don't know where that came from either. I think that's probably just me, but and then so when it came to building the character, I didn't really know where to go, and that's why I kind of like leaned a little bit more on like the Annie Potts type. And then kind of going off more what Stephen was saying as far as like the Sega thing, where it's I'm gonna listen, or I'm gonna do this thing in this scene, and it maybe will work out or it won't, and depending on the dice roll, then I have to narrate how it worked or didn't. I think it would be interesting to approach this maybe as the skeptic, to have an ultimate truth that you can play off. So let's say investigating a house, if it's like, I'm going to go into this with the mindset of knowing that I'm going to say that there's all these apparitions that are going around in this house, but really what it is, like unbiasedly, or like the ultimate truth is that the furnace is on the fritz. And then narratively, that gives you like, well, what would furnace on the fritz? How would that manifest as a ghost? And then at the end of the game is when it decides, is it actually a ghost or was it actually the furnace? But that would give the GM or the skeptic like this goalpost of like, how do you continually lead players to what's mundane in a house, and then how can you light that up to seem paranormal? Because it was just kind of like, there was a part halfway through where I was like, are we investigating ghostly apparition, or investigating video games, or investigating an old man? I kind of didn't know what glued it all together, and that's because we were kind of creating those truths as we were like gunning and writing the story. That makes sense. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess other than that, I don't mean to make it sound like I'm beating you up, because I thought you did a great job. But yeah, I'm just thinking more myself. If I try to run this player-wise, they might be like, well, am I just going room to room? It doesn't have that cookie of like, I actually figured out what was going on in this room. Where they like figured out the mystery. There isn't that cookie, because I'm the one who creates the cookie and either finds it or doesn't. That makes sense. So I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it, but
it's good. It's good. I hear where you're coming from, and I had the same kind of feeling of like, this feels a little like a dungeon that doesn't have a cohesive narrative. Like every room that you go into is a whole and distinct challenge. Whereas if I'm going to do a dungeon, which I wouldn't choose to, but if I do, I would love it if the dungeon had an overarching, like a reasoned out or a feel to it, a kind of vibe, kind of feel.
Sure.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't say that this game felt competitive at all. I mean, like I would like to be the one who had the most investigation points in one point or the other, but there was no element of like somebody making me roll more or less at any point based on their volition. It was more of like, if they ran away, then I had to. But yeah, it might have been nice too if there was some kind of mechanic in the game that was like I could help someone else. So there's a bit more collaboration.
Well, actually, if you guys have more ego, you can actually spend ego to help somebody else not run.
Say that one more time.
I believe you can spend ego for someone else.
Oh,
I saw a thing like that. But you guys never had more than one ego, so
yeah, and that was the other thing too, right? Is like, who would number-wise, like who would ever take one ego? Well, I guess unless you rolled really poorly, but everyone else rolled even worse. Like I would want to get investigation points, especially if you get that +2 bonus for having the most investigation points, versus getting one ego. It's like ego never really went up. It was only to keep you from running away like that one time. But and then another thing I thought of was anytime somebody ran away, it would be nice if there is, I mean, it didn't have to be mechanical, but if it was just like a scene of like, how do you get that person to come back? Maybe you can have like a little quick scene of them digging into backstory or something to grab them narratively back into the story, kind of like we did with like the swing. And because without that, it's just, oh, you ran away. All right, let's go to the next room. Like you didn't get your points. Okay, let's move forward.
Yeah, I sort of felt like instead of just the lead character getting the confessional, if everybody had a little scene at the end discussing what they did, what they did, and what results they found. And just everyone get a little bit of a spotlight at the end of each scene.
Yeah, that makes some sense. I was still trying to feel it like we probably need to do a few more rooms, so I was pushing, but I probably could have pulled back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Andrew, anything else?
No, I think that's all I got.
Good. Well, now you have to have more because I'll stick with you for roses. Yeah,
I think, someone who, for myself, I GM more games than I play. And like I said, this is only the second Gauntlet game I've ever played, but I'm never in a position where I get to be the player with any of my local games. And it was really inspiring, I guess, to watch how you adapted in situations wherein you didn't know the answer. We ask a question where you're like, oh, I'm not really sure. And, players always, or people have that moment where they can either double down when they don't know something and kind of like make up something and have that kind of be good enough, or take the second to look to figure out what it is and kind of gracefully figure out how to adapt to the situation. And I think that was a skill that you've definitely honed off of the games I've listened to you play in the past. It's very smooth, and I think the confidence you have when you don't know is just as important as the confidence somebody has when they do know. So I think GM wise, like, it made it a really fun experience for me. And I wouldn't say there's ever a point in the game, even when the spotlight wasn't on me, that I ever felt not engaged or interested in what was going on, even in like the slower moments. So yeah, you're awesome.
Good. Thank you, Andrew. Steven, what roses did you have?
Well, I liked the preparation you did with the picture of Harrison House you had on the sheet. I thought that was really effective in setting up the atmosphere of what sort of a place we're investigating. And I liked the way you acted out Mrs. Harrison. She was a really good character for us to interact with.
Good. I'm glad. She was fun.
Yes.
Dylan set her up to be become more and more interesting as we went on. So that I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad it wasn't just like a Dylan thing, that you guys were enjoying it too.
Right.
Shelley was a
well, yeah.
Awesome.
I think that's probably Richie's like MO though, just to be like
right.
Yeah.
Poor Victoria. That's why she's not going to be
right. And I set it up. Well, can you recreate the scene? It's like, oh, this is going to be great television.
Dude, that was so. I saw, and I'm jumping ahead of you, Dylan. I'm sorry, but
Okay.
I saw you setting it up for a spike, and that is such a lovely attribute of a good and giving player, Steven. I really admired that. Like, oh, you were so egging Dylan on, and he is gonna make this hilarious. I love it. That was really cool. I think there was more going on in like my headspace of you setting that up than what we said out loud, but like that was clear and vivid.
Right. Right. Well, it's like I saw what Dylan was doing. It's like, okay, I can push this further. So yeah.
That was great. Dylan, what about you? What rose did you have, sir?
So, before my rose, I just want to add one more thing. I think it would have been hilarious if like there should have been a way for like for you to do like a confessional with Mrs. Harrison.
Yes, that would have been funny.
But my rose, because it's always a pleasure playing with you in your games, Rich. So I can't use that every time.
Nope.
But I love confessionals. I'll give that one to, since I thorned the game, I'll rose the game too. I love confessionals. I wish that more games had them. I'm trying to figure out a way to work them into my OSR games. I think I think confessionals are just fantastic. They're fantastic.
Breaker's confessionals would be the best. Oh man, you can even do it. Like you could, because it's modern day. You could have something do with a GoPro, and he just like confessionals himself. Oh, that's awesome. Good, or do it with his phone, whatever. I'm gonna end up with a few roses of my own. Andrew, you were top notch, man. I really love that you like came in. You didn't know you needed to make a character. Thought you were playing yourself, but Victoria was so vibrant and clear. I had an absolutely distinct idea of who she was from the first moment, and I really empathized with her. She was totally I can't remember, but this some kind of wonderful is always my touchstone for the no, you should be with this girl type of deal. Don't go with the pretty redhead. No, you need to be the drummer girl who's totally cool. What are you doing, Harry Stoltz? You fool! And I felt for Victoria the same kind of way of like I was pulling for her. And even as I was playing Shelley, kind of in front of her husband coming on to Richie, I felt bad. I'm like, oh, Victoria, I want you to win, but you're doomed. Dylan, Richie has so much panache. You are such a superstar. I've seen you play lots of characters. This may have been my favorite character, which is tough for me to say because you've been in a lot of Gauntlet City games, but Richie was hilarious. Not just from his like bravado, but the Trans Am, the barcode hood, the cassettes, like the unearned machismo of him was just delightful.
Thank you.
It was super fun. Steven, I liked Doc. I love the name. Then I almost busted a gut from you. Just here comes his name. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I love Doc. He was great. I love that he was called Doc and he wasn't actually a professor of anything. And he was the one who formed up the team. And you're using tech, but you're not using tech. You're using like ghost tech, but you still can't figure out how to get an actual real working cell phone. Like that juxtaposition was so fun. It was really neat. It's like he's an academic, but he's kind of self-taught. He has a high amount of technology, but it's mostly from old BBS forums. It was so funny. It was really great. It was a
great collection of characters.
Yeah, it was. This was awesome. I feel like the game was fun, but you guys took it another level. I was very entertained playing this game with you guys, and I feel like I can make Dude Run better because you guys helped us to have fun at this so that we could kind of look at it with a little more critical eye without feeling like, whoa, was it because we didn't bring anything to it? No, you guys brought it. You guys really made this a fun session. And we just talked about a few things that we could tweak to enhance the game and the way I'm running the game. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. This was super fun. And in 2 weeks, 2 of the 3 of you will be rejoining us. And we'll continue on. So thank you guys all so much for being part of Gauntlet City Limits tonight.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks.